Hello, my name is Umar Khan. I'm a solicitor here at Swain & Company. Today I want to discuss the aspect of making no comment to a police officer during formal interview and during detention at a police station. Ultimately, one has a right not to cooperate with the police on arrest. That is enshrined in law. It does not imply guilt, and that should be remembered from the outset. You have an ultimate right to seek legal advice, and you have an ultimate right to choose not to cooperate with the police. In fact, not cooperating with the police, or informally known as making no comment during a formal interview, can have advantages in certain circumstances. A solicitor would be best placed to be in attendance at a police station, weigh up the pros and cons, and give the best impartial advice as to whether to cooperate or not. But the specific advantages of not cooperating are this. Firstly, it could avoid you bolstering a weak police case. Ultimately, it's for the police to find the evidence against a suspect, not the other way around. By making inadvertent, unsolicited admissions in interview, then this could actually fill in the gaps for the police and could actually lay the information and the evidence to enable the police to bring criminal charges. Therefore, exercising your right to silence could avoid incriminating yourself unnecessarily. Secondly, by making no comment could avoid mistakes being made in the interview process. An interview is an intimidating and stressful experience for a detainee. By choosing not to cooperate, then it could avoid unnecessarily providing a convoluted account to the police or one that is plainly wrong. In a confused state of mind, the meaning conveyed by a suspect's words could have a different meaning in interview. Therefore, importantly, by choosing to make no comment, specifically if a suspect feels that they're not fit or well enough to engage with police officers in a two-way conversation during a formal interview, it could avoid unnecessary mistakes being made. Those mistakes could then later be labelled as lies by the prosecution. Thirdly, there could be a lack of disclosure from the investigating officer to the attending solicitor. Ultimately, the powers of interview rest solely on the principle that the police must suspect the suspect is guilty of a criminal offence. If the information disclosed by the arresting officer is minimal or negligible, that may mean that there is no duty to cooperate or answer in regard to a formal interview. Of course, once the solicitor is in attendance, they can evaluate the disclosure provided and advise the suspect accordingly. It's important to remember in the circumstances that the police are not obliged to provide any disclosure to attending solicitors, but often it's in their best interest to provide as much disclosure as possible to facilitate a response from the suspect. But ultimately, as I said, if the evidence is not there of a criminal offence, then there's no obligation to cooperate. There is one implication on exercising one's right to silence. That's what we call an adverse inference, as formerly known in legal parlance. What that means is basically if one were to choose not to cooperate and make a no-comment interview to the police, then negative inferences can be drawn against that suspect later on during the trial process. It may mean that a tribunal, a judge, jury, magistrate, may be less likely to believe their account if it had not been provided initially to the police during detention. It may lack credibility, but importantly, only a negative comment or inference can be drawn. It cannot itself form the evidence for a finding of guilt. It's important to note that a suspect will have an opportunity, if a case goes to trial, to stand up in court and give testimony as to why he chose to make no comment. So it's ultimately at the discretion of the court as to whether they choose to make a negative comment. I would say, finally, at the outset, if you or your family members have been arrested by police or are due to be interviewed during detention at a police station, then please contact our crime office on 023 9248 3322 and provide that important advice. Thank you.